Procrastination isn't laziness. It's not a flaw in your willpower, and it's certainly not cured by motivational quotes on your phone background. What if I told you that procrastination is your brain trying to protect you from discomfort, but in doing so, it traps you in a shallow life? The ancient Stoics believed in confronting hardship as a path to freedom. Modern neuroscience is now proving them right. But what does this mean in practice? How can we stop putting things off and actually rewire our minds for momentum? Let's dive into an idea that sounds counterintuitive, but works like a psychological slingshot. To escape procrastination, you must deliberately do something harder than the thing you're avoiding. At first glance, that makes no sense. You're unmotivated, overwhelmed, or anxious about a task like writing an essay, going to the gym, starting a business. Your brain says that's too much right now. So what do? You tidy your desk, you check your email, you scroll, you find distractions that are just productive enough to soothe your guilt, but easy enough to avoid real friction. This is what modern thinkers call limbic friction, which is the emotional resistance that lives between wanting to act and actually acting. But here's the catch. Limbic friction doesn't disappear by waiting. In fact, the longer you wait, the deeper the hole becomes. It's like sliding down a dopamine trough after a pleasure spike where your mood crashes, your energy drops, and your ability to focus collapses. Now here's where things get interesting. Research shows that the steepness of that dopamine crash can actually determine how quickly you bounce back from it. In other words, if you go through a brief but intense discomfort, your brain resets faster. It climbs back up to baseline motivation quicker than if you simply wait it out or try to distract yourself with low-effort tasks. So how do you apply this? Imagine you're stuck in an unmotivated fog. You've been staring at a blank screen for an hour. Instead of forcing yourself to write a sentence or worse, waiting for inspiration, you should do something physically harder. Jump into a cold shower, sprint up a flight of stairs, do 30 burpees. Not to punish yourself, but to shock the system. This isn't masochism. It's a deliberate, safe way to spike effort and re-engage your nervous system. What you're doing is giving your body a dose of controlled stress, and in return, your brain responds by flooding itself with neurochemicals that say, "We're alive again, let's move." The key is choosing something that feels harder than the task you're avoiding, not easier. Cleaning your apartment doesn't count if it still feels like a cozy escape. You need something that your mind resists, a sensation that sucks just enough to reboot you. And here's where it turns philosophical. The Stoics believed in voluntary discomfort. Fasting, cold exposure, long walks in harsh weather, not because they were masochists, but because they understood that comfort breeds inertia, while chosen hardship builds freedom. They knew what we're rediscovering today through science. That you don't think your way out of procrastination, but you act your way out. Sometimes the action has to be irrationally difficult to break the cycle. So next time you find yourself stuck, don't bargain with your mind. Don't wait for motivation to show up at your door like an Amazon package. Instead, make a move. A sharp, inconvenient, even annoying move. Dive into the cold. Sprint through the pain. Embrace discomfort, not because it's noble, but because it's effective. And you'll find that just beyond the edge of resistance lies momentum, the kind that doesn't need motivation at all.